Okay. So as usual, these ideas come by Allah's grace. Just sometimes they come as thoughts, sometimes they come uh, as I think all of us have experienced at different times. Um, at least for me, there's two times when great ideas come to mind. One is the first thing in the morning as I'm waking up between sleep and wakefulness. There's a little span of time there. A lot of great ideas come then, and a lot of great ideas come during Salat.
I bear witness.
And this was something that came up. It started probably about a week or so ago. I left it alone because it just you can't force the ideas. You know,
Mm-hmm.
Allah says in the Holy Quran that He teaches man by the pen what man knew not. So we
Right.
have to wait really for Allah to really germinate the thought, and then when it's time, it'll come into fruition. So I pray Allah that this comes over properly. I see the connections, but one of the most important things I pray a lot that the believers see the connections, the relationship between the supreme wisdom and the supreme technology, as the minister has phrased it. So today, what we're going to discuss is a concept called the conditioned formulae, and the conditioned formula are it's a concept that comes from the Scientology Book of Ethics. Has anyone ever heard of that book?
Yeah. Mm.
Okay, it's this book right here.
Absolutely, I heard it.
Okay, Scientology Book of Ethics. The concept comes for this, but what I always strive to do is as I do the extension courses, as I read the questions, I look at the key words, I'm always striving to make a connection. Brother Troy, I know this is your first time with us, correct?
Yes, sir, but not
Okay,
the first time with the information. Far, far, far from the info.
right, right. So basically, what we do is we have been for some years now. You're aware of word clearing, I'm sure, correct?
Certainly.
Okay. What we do is we actually go into the Holy Quran. We do the word clearing based on the Arabic. And I think any believer here can tell you that we have been successful probably 100% of the time by Allah's grace in finding the text of Dianetics in the Holy Quran. Is that correct, family?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we do Arabic word clearing, and where Allah says in the Holy Quran, "I've given you a book explaining all things." If He says we've given you a book explaining all things, then that would have to include Dianetic text. Otherwise, that ayat would be false. And since we know that ayat is true, then it's safe to assume that when Allah says, "I've given you a book explaining all things," that includes the technology, correct?
Yes, sir.
So Dianetics has to be in the Holy Quran. Has to be. And we're gonna prove it again with the help of Allah tonight as we go a little bit further into the the conditioned formula. Let's see. Sister Anya, did you make it on? I saw you were are you with us, Sister Anya?
Yes, I am. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam. And how is our big brother, Brother Wahid?
He's doing fine. Praise be to Allah.
Praise be to Allah.
Yes, sir.
And I saw Sister Carol. Assalamu alaikum, Sister Carol, if you're with us. I see you.
Walaikum salam.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
And was that Sister Patricia that came on? I think I saw Sister Patricia. Okay. So first we're gonna lay a base. In the Holy Quran, in Surat al-Bani Israel, which is Surah 17, ayat number 89, it says, "And certainly we have made clear for men in this Quran every kind of description, but most men consent to naught but denying." So again, every kind of description in the Holy Quran, it is up to us because there's another part in the Holy Quran where it says, first Allah gives you wisdom, then he makes it plain. And I think that's Surah 21. Let me get my actual facts here. I believe that's Surah 21. No, it's not 21. Oh, where is that at? Well, I'm gonna have to find that. So every kind of description is in the Holy Quran. And now we do a little bit of word clearing. The Arabic for every kind of description is kuli methylene. Kuli methylene. I thought it was interesting that in the word, now the word methylene, it's a very interesting word, but I thought it was interesting that the first part of the word is the word math. The word kuli comes from the Arabic root kul, K-U-L-L, which means the whole truth. It means everything. So for Allah to say in the Holy Quran, we've made clear for men in this Quran every kind of description. Just real quickly, if anyone would like to just add any input, what does that mean to you when it says that he's given us every kind of description?
Mm, 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 mm. He explained all things.
Okay, everything is there. Everything is there. Now the key word here, Brother Troy, let me throw a question. Have you done the student hat work?
Yes, sir.
So you've done the student hat. Good, 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 good. So you're familiar with demo kits, correct?
Absolutely.
Okay. And we know a demo kit is the one thing that L. Ron Hubbard states, that any concept, you basically have to be able to sketch it or represent it in 3 dimensions, correct?
Yes, sir.
And that shows that you understand it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Let's see. Okay. So now, interesting thing here is when you look at the word methylene, it comes from the Arabic root word methala. And the word methala also means parable. It means a metaphor. It means a simile. It means a proverb, and it means an allegory. Now, do we all know what those words mean, or do we have to cover them real quick?
I think we're good.
Okay. Okay. But it also means to represent pictorially, graphically, through sculpture, or through visual expression. Okay. So everywhere in the Holy Quran where you see the word parable in the Holy Quran is this word right here, methylene.
Mm.
So the word parable in Islam is equivalent to the demo kit of Scientology. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
So, and this is a phrase that we had coined probably about a year or 2 years ago, that the universe is Allah's demo kit. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Okay. When you look at our problem book, if you look at the problem book from the mindset or the viewpoint of Scientology, that is a book of demo kits where the Savior, Master Farah Muhammad, is giving us the planets to study, giving us different aspects of the universe. And from that, we're supposed to extract an understanding of our miserable condition in a mathematical way, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So when we look at the study of Mercury, when we look at the study of Jupiter and Saturn, and when we study how many round trips to the far planet Pluto can one travel at the speed of thought in 10 seconds, these are all designed to get us to look at the universe and extract the principles from the universe to gain a higher knowledge of self, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So the demo kit and the parable, there's ARC, there's affinity, reality, and communication between the Church of Scientology and the teaching of the Most High Elijah Muhammad. These 2 concepts are together. So when we look at every kind of description, and another of this is in Surat al-Kahf, titled The Cave, in Surah 18, ayat number 54, it says, and certainly we have made distinct in this Quran for mankind every kind of description, and man is most contentious. Now, this kind of describes what happens. No, this describes what happened when the minister put us on the course of the study of this text. Now, the bottom line is the foundation of our study is based on, again, my opinion, is based on the Most High Elijah Muhammad said, wherever he says go, go, where he says stay from, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So the minister gave us the text as a tool to help us on our journey. But as soon as that decision was made, there were those that were contentious, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So in the Arabic, the word contentious is jadala, which means argumentative or quarrelsome. But the thing is, Allah says in the Holy Quran, the East and the West belong to Allah.
Oh.
So whatever L. Ron Hubbard presents, if it is of truth, that truth did not belong to L. Ron Hubbard. That truth belongs to Allah, that the eternal, correct?
Right.
Yes, sir.
Truth is eternal. That's why in one of his attributes, Allah is Al-Haq. He is the truth.
Sure, true.
The sure truth.
Mm.
So whatever truth is in the text of Dianetics, the truth belongs to Allah. And L. Ron Hubbard makes the statement. He gives credit to 50,000 years, right, of information.
Mm-hmm. He does.
And then if you
Yes,
go
sir.
in the book, The Creation of Human Ability, he very clearly makes this statement. He has a list. He has a list of different things that he studied in putting together the tech of Dianetics. He studied the Upanishads, which is the ancient spiritual information of India. He mentions the Bhagavad Gita, which is the foundation, one of the foundational books for Hinduism. He studied the Dhammapada, which is the foundational book of one of the foundational books of Buddhism. He studied the ancient information of the original black man.
Yes, sir. Brother Luke,
Go ahead, yes, sir.
if I may read that quote from Ella Rich.
Go ahead, brother.
It's actually in the Science of the Bible. It says, this is an acknowledgement. It says, to 50,000 years of thinking men, without whose work Dianetics could never have been formulated. The credit is theirs, not mine.
That's exactly what I was thinking about, brother. Thank you for tapping in and pulling that up.
Yes, sir.
I can't remember the exact page number, but in Creation of Human Ability, after he talks about all the great wisdom of the past, and this is directly connected to what Brother Troy just read. He says many people will give credit to like Socrates and the Greek and whatnot. And he says they furthered it. He says, but the origin of that wisdom belongs to the Asiatics.
Absolutely.
So he bears witness that the origin of what in my humble opinion, L. Ron Hubbard did the same thing with our ancient wisdom that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan did with the teachings of Most High Elijah Muhammad. What did they do? They put the wisdom in the fine language that they knew.
Yes, sir.
So L. Ron Hubbard was a nuclear physicist and a mathematician. So he took the ancient wisdom of the original man, the Asiatics, and he put it in the language of nuclear physics and mathematics. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So Allah has provided a book that will provide the reader with an explanation of all things, yet we read the Quran, we hear the message, we know right from wrong, yet we still dispute. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said that our wisdom is like a safe full of riches, but we lost the combination, correct?
Wow. Yes, sir.
And if we had truly been studying our lessons in the Holy Quran and the teachings, we would have automatically seen what L. Ron Hubbard presented was directly connected to what we were studying. Now, this part is, again, this is just my opinion, but it's my opinion, but it's going to be backed up by the Holy Quran and the teaching of Most High Elijah Muhammad. Number one, we're taught that the Savior had to come based from the two races, that he could give justice to both races, correct?
Correct.
He came as a mercy for both the black and the white, yes?
Both uncles. Yeah.
Okay, now take that data, that's a stable datum, put it on the side. Look what Allah says in the Holy Quran. Allah says in the Holy Quran that he always sends a messenger to a people speaking their own language, correct?
Right.
Now, what does that tell me? Again, this is just my opinion. That tells me that if the Savior came as a mercy to both people, then wouldn't it make sense that he raised up messengers for both people?
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's just my opinion.
Yeah.
He comes from both people. He comes as a mercy to both people. And that's why I believe, and it's just based on all the studying I've been doing and I'm currently doing with the tech, this is just my opinion. I believe somehow, and I believe it was Brother Robin, may Allah be pleased with him, that had made a statement along these lines that because L. Ron Hubbard worked in that level of government at that time, it is quite possible that he gained access to the lessons after those lessons were confiscated in 1942. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Repeat
I'm just
that
saying
again,
it's a
brother. I'm sorry.
possibility.
I'm sorry. Repeat that again, brother Lukman.
Okay. L. Ron Hubbard was a part, if I'm not mistaken, he was involved with military intelligence through the Navy.
Right.
And Brother Robin, and I know we have it, I think, in one of our Zoom meetings. And I'm still in the process of trying to collect all the information where Brother Robin dropped a lot of information, because he was hardcore into the tech as far as auditing is concerned. But he said it's a possibility because L. Ron Hubbard was involved in military intelligence. And I'm going to try my best to get the actual facts on this, that when the lessons were confiscated in 1942, it is a possibility that he gained access to the lessons. It's a possibility he might have gained access to the teachings being a part of military intelligence. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Definitely. The minister did say he believed that L. Ron Hubbard and Master Fard Muhammad did meet. He believed that.
Yes.
And when I was in Flag, Florida, I seen a picture of L. Ron Hubbard in a little, sort of like a airplane, and it was in 1932 in Michigan. So, I'm just saying that's just something I observed.
Thank you for that. In an airplane in 1932 in Michigan. Or maybe that's just a coincidence. Who knows? Mr. Barber, go ahead.
In book one, is that why I'm gonna have to paraphrase it? Is that why when when L. Ron Hubbard said that when Black people get a hold or know about this tech, they will be able to something, something, something. I don't have the right words, but
that came out in a bulletin, if I'm not mistaken. It wasn't in book one, but that came out in a separate bulletin. I will try to get I know I have sent it out once before. I will try to send it out again, and it would be good if we had it and we download it and kept it, because he did make that statement.
Right. Yeah, you can pull it up from online. Just put it in. That's what I did, and I seen it at the org as well.
Okay. Praise be to Allah. And then when you read the book, A History of Man, the very first sentence in the opening chapters, he talks about the time track, or it talks about the history going back 76 trillion years.
Yes.
Yes, sir, he did.
And overall, he says the time track is 76 trillion years.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Okay. So now, what are the learning objectives? I need to ask everyone to go on mute. Okay. 1 second. 1 second.
Someone TV background.
Okay.
Carol.
Yeah, Sister Carol, could you please go on mute?
Oh, okay.
Thank you. Okay, here we go. Okay, learning objectives. Let me get this off the screen. Oh. So first, we're going to ask the question, what is a formula? And we're going to get a stable datum on this because I'm going to pull up a clip of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan where he talks about Allah being a scientist who speaks in the language of formulae. So we're gonna lay the base with the words of the minister.
Yes, sir. Before you get into that, real quick, Brother Robert, I'm sorry. I mean, Brother Luqman.
Maybe the spirit is here, brother. Go ahead.
Yes, sir. So, yeah, this is in Science of Survival, page 2. It says, a search for the energy of life began in 1930.
Yes, it did,
Has
brother.
been particularly resolved by the discovery of the lowest common denominator of existence, survive.
Yes, it is.
I just want to throw that out there.
I think on that same page, or 1 or 2 pages before, or 1 or 2 pages after, he talks about the 19 million insane as well.
Oh wow, I'll check it out.
Yep, that's right around. It's right around the same area. He talks about the 19 million insane, and I'm like, okay, so who exactly was he talking about when he's talking about the 19 million? But we know. Wow. It's Science of Survival. It is page number 4. Yep, Science of Survival, page number 4. It says, with 19 million insane in the United States alone, with nations in the grip of madmen planning conquest, the too complicated school rushes about getting a good press on how well they're doing, while all the evidence says entirely otherwise. Then he says, thus let us look for a simpler solution, one which does not require 12 years of schooling and practice to learn, one which will deliver to us a therapy and, more important, an understanding of life, man and mind operation, which can resolve the 19 million insane, millions of criminals and international madness. That's page number 4, Science of Survival. Okay, what are the condition formula? The condition formula you will find in the introduction to Scientology ethics, and we're going to get into that more detail in a minute. We're going to talk briefly about the 99 attributes of Allah because we should all be familiar with that. We should be familiar with 8 dynamics. And then what happens when we marry the 99 attributes to the 8 dynamics? And this is where we're going to marry the supreme wisdom with the supreme tech.
Yes,
everyone
sir.
follow?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So let us lay the base with what is a formula. And there's a small clip, I think it's about 6 or 7 minutes long, of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, and that will lay the foundation of what we do tonight.
The wheel has, even from what I heard, come down and taken a plane out of the sky. That's what has been reported. But all I know is the power that's on that wheel. There is no power on the earth that can deal with it. And on that wheel is the wisdom for the next 10,000 years. Now, I'll talk to you a little bit about these books. Bible, Quran. These are called scriptures. which the Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us, is just a part of a greater writing. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us that there are 24 wise scientists among us that listen to the thinking of the people. And they are so wise that when they know the thoughts of the people, they can predict the actions and they write the history. We don't write history after it is done. We write it before it is done and walk into what the scientists have written. Oh, listen. This Quran is just a part of the writing. This Bible is just a part of the writing, and both of these books begin with the making of a people that would rule, disobey God, lose his favor, and create a world in opposition to God. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us that we write history to equal our home circumference. Our home is the earth. It's 24,896 miles in circumference, approximately 25,000 years. So we write our history to last for 25,000 years. We are in the 15,000th year of our history. But where's the other 10? It said the scientists, when they were looking, a light came up in the 15,000 year that was so bright they couldn't write anymore because they couldn't see anymore. So the Bible says, listen, Quran 2, seal up the book and write no more, because you can't write what you can't see. But the bright light that they saw coming was the coming of that mighty Mahdi, who would have the guidance for the next 10,000 years going into infinity. No. I just want you to listen. Here's your Quran. It only takes you up to the judgment. Has no guidance here for the hereafter. It's not in this book. The Bible takes you up to the destruction of the present world. And all the books, both of them say is, eye has not seen, ear has not heard, nor has it entered into the heart of any man to perceive what lies beyond this world. So the book of Revelation says they saw Moses on a distant shore, singing as it were a new song. But they never told you what the lyrics were. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said to us that that book, he had a vision of it. And the vision that he had of it became the flag of Imam Warathuddin Muhammad and the believing community. He said it was not a big book, it was quite small. See, he told me that Allah is a scientist, the Mahdi. Don't use a lot of words. He speaks like a scientist in formulae. But he was the second scientist. He looks into the formulae of the first scientist and breaks it down, but he could tell us all of it. But just like the scripture says, there are many things that I could tell you, but you cannot bear it now. But when he is come, the Spirit of truth, he said, I'm going to send him. That's not Jesus. Jesus was sent. But here, the man that comes that knew it all but couldn't tell it all. Not because he didn't know it all, it was that we were insufficient in our growth and development to take the power of that message. Listen to me. But he called me his lead minister. He said I was like a lead wire coming from a generator. None of the little light bulbs are sufficient to take the power directly from the generator because it would blow them. He said, but a man was made for him by Allah that could feed directly from the generator, break it down, the complex truths, so that even a fool would find it hard to make a mistake.
Please stand for prayer.
Any questions? Statements?
Wow.
All right, let's keep it moving. So what exactly is a formula? The Merriam-Webster dictionary states that a formula is a conventional statement intended to express some fundamental truth or principle, especially as a basis for negotiation or action. Question: do our supreme wisdom lessons represent fundamental truths?
Of course.
I would say
Absolutely.
okay. And what is a fundamental truth? It's a truth that serves as a foundation for a system of belief or behavior, or for a chain of reasoning. So the fundamental truths are the bedrock, the groundwork, or the foundation of a whole system of understanding. Now, what are condition formula or condition formulae? L. Ron Hubbard states in the Introduction to Scientology Ethics, he says, oh no, excuse me, this is from the Holy Quran, laying the base. For him are angels guarding the consequences of his deeds, before him and behind him, who guard him by Allah's command. Surely Allah changes not the condition of a people until they change their own condition, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so a mystery God's not going to do it. And this is in Siratul Ra'id, the thunder, which is Surah number 13, ayat number 11. When you look at the change the condition or state, the Arabic word is Nubadala, and it means to change, to substitute, to exchange, or to replace. Go ahead, Sister Angela.
Yes, sir. Reminds me of a lesson that the minister gave regarding Yakub when he went to civilize the devils in the caves of EU and ROP. And he said that Yakub used to play tricks on them. This is how he got them to start believing in mysteries. He had someone push a boulder or a rock off a cliff and say it came from some mysterious place by a mysterious force. And the formula I see even in sharing that story is married to what you just shared. Allah does not change a people's condition unless they change it themselves. And that's the thing. Then we'll have to go to war with the mystery God. Because as soon as we take charge of a situation, or how can I say, look to survive and take accountability and responsibility, we take steps towards Allah. Yes, praise be to Allah. And we also dispel the myth of a mystery, and we also can contact the God within.
Yes, ma'am. Is that it, Sister Angela?
Yes, sir. That's all.
That is the message from the wheel. Go ahead, Brother Lamar.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
Now, when you look at the word formula, right, it's like a formula. So that's why I put it inside the thanks. The formula is like the absolute truth, like the teachings, the supreme wisdom. That's the formula. But then when you said that the condition formula, you know how like sometimes when people be like, under certain conditions, or I want you to do this under this condition, under that condition. Actually, now it takes away from the actual truth because now it's under conditions. It's like you get a job, well, you got to do this, but under certain conditions, blah, blah, blah. So actually now it's taken away from the absolute truth. So now when you look at that, it's like, man, that, like how then it goes to what my, Sister Angela was saying, it becomes untrue to me. You know what I'm saying? It's a certain type of formula. You know what I'm saying? There's a seat. You know what I'm saying? All, Jakub world will come in. And that type. That's my understanding of it.
Okay.
That's it.
All right. Thank you, Brother Lamar. So let me give the context behind condition formula, and then we're going to go in detail with regards to it. Now, try to mop this up in your mind. And we've done this in the past. To the believers that have been on when we do the math workshop on Wednesday, remember when we calculated the circumference of the planet Earth based on the diameter?
Yes, sir. In pi.
Okay. Okay. So there's a formula. So if you're given a test question and the teacher says, calculate the circumference of the planet Earth, and in that problem, you are given the data. Because remember, every time you do a mathematical problem, there's going to be information that's going to be given to you, and there's going to be something that you have to produce or solve, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so the teacher is going to give you some type of an input. You have to produce the output, but you have to know the formulae to take that number and transform it into the answer, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, if you use the wrong formula, you get the wrong answer, correct?
Absolutely.
So what L. Ron Hubbard is saying, and we're going to go a little more detail in this, that there are 12 different states of existence. And each one of these states of existence has its own formula. And you have to first identify where you are on these levels or states of existence. And in order to ascend up this ladder, or the ways of ascent, or however you want to look at it, you have to apply the popular formula at the proper state. And if you provide the wrong formula, not only will you remain in the current state you're in, but you will possibly drop a state below where you were. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
So basically, what he's saying in the introduction to Scientology ethics with regards to states of existence, we have to apply some type of self-examination, and we have to be honest with ourselves where we are, why we're there. And then he shows the proper formula of how to ascend to get out of that condition. So that's the context behind what the condition formula comes from. It's recognizing where we are and then giving us the ability to find the data to allow us to grow. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So in the book, it's under the chapter called The Conditions, States of Operation. He says an organization or its parts or an individual passes through various states of existence. These, if not handled properly, bring about shrinkage and misery and worry and death. If handled properly, they bring about stability, expansion, influence, and well-being. Okay. So it's like each one of us are on a certain level. Allah says in the Holy Quran, he calls it, the uphill road, correct?
Yes, sir.
Or the ways of ascent. Every one of us is on our own journey, as the minister has taught us, specifically, I believe it's in study guide number 3, overcoming difficulty. But in the study guides, he says we all have a goal, and that goal is to connect our essence with the essence, correct?
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
So what we have to do is we have to recognize where we are, and then we have to have an understanding of the formula. And then when we apply the formula in the proper way, it allows us to ascend. If we find the wrong formula, or we take the right formula and apply it in an incorrect way, we won't grow. We'll
held down 7.
It's the held down 7. Yes, ma'am. So some of us, no, all of us, unless, because the only ones that are clear are those that probably came in on the wheel, but the rest of us, the rest of us aberrate individuals, we all are wrestling with something, correct?
Right. Yes, sir.
So based on that, we have to first, it's like our 8 steps of atonement: point out the wrong, acknowledge the wrong, confess it. We got to find out where we are. We got to be honest with ourselves. And then we have to find out, okay, what can I use? What can I do to get out of where I am so I can get to where I need to be? And in this book, he gives a mathematical formula for each of these states. I'm not going to go in depth in all 12 of the states, but I'm going to kind of give a brief overview. Was someone saying something?
Yes, sir, brother. Brother, I guess you can end this talk, brother, because we already proved the point, so to speak, But no, I'm just joking. But when you're talking about connecting the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad to Dianetics, we certainly proved that already just by the little conversation that we just had. But just real quick, so in the minister's lecture, the Swan Song talked about us as individuals finding our note, and once we find that note, then we definitely can ascend to whatever we want, whatever God has for us to do. And it's all tied into the self-improvement, study guides.
Yes.
As sister said, taking responsibility, the atonement, all of that is connected, including the ethics as well. So just wanted to get that out.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you. Well, if you think it connects now, brother, we haven't even got to the jewels of the conversation yet.
Wow, that's why I'm here.
But all praise due to Allah. So the states of existence are like states of matter. And we know the minister has taught us that the 3 levels of growth and development are likened to, we have the animal, the human, and divine, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, when you look at animal, human, and divine, they correspond to the three states of matter: solid, liquid, and gas, correct?
Yes, sir.
So the 12 states of existence, at the top, you have what's called a state of power. Okay. Then you have what's called a state of power change. You have a state of affluence. You have a state of normal operation. Then you have a state of emergency, a state of danger. Then you have a state of non-existence, a state of liability, a state of doubt, state of an enemy, state of treason, then a state of confusion. Those are the 12 states, okay? Interesting about this is these states actually correspond to the tone scale. Now, those of us who have been studying the tone scale, we know you got 40, you have the tone scale that's infinity going towards the top, yes?
Yes, sir.
And then you come down to about 3.0. And then there's a little band, 2.5, which is describing boredom, correct?
Yes, sir.
And then from 2.0 down to 0.0, you come to death, right?
Yes, sir.
But then there is a sub-zero tone scale, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So how do you describe the sub-zero tone scale? L. Ron Hubbard stated that there's a tone scale for the Thetan and there's a tone scale for the Mest. Yes?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
And so we have three states. When you go 0 and below, later on in the text, that's not describing physical death, that is describing mental death.
Absolutely.
So you go from negative 40 to 0, the Thetan is in the Mest body, and the Thetan doesn't even know he's a Thetan.
Can we break that down to a very childlike language for the people in the back?
Oh, of course, for the people in the back, yes, ma'am. If we look in the Black community, we look into the face of God on every corner, but God doesn't even know that he's God.
Come on now.
God doesn't even know that he's God. And if you look at the gradients at the sub-zero level, failure, needing bodies, controlling bodies, and then you look at what takes place in the Black community, we're controlling one another. We're always trying to get over on one another. We're ducking and dodging and we're hiding. L. Ron Hubbard, if you look at the tone scale, I'm just using the Black community because this is for us right here. That sub-zero tone scale, any brother or sister that has soldiered in the hood, you will see all of this when you soldier.
Absolutely.
Sure. What could it be?
Go ahead.
Could the sub-zero be also, because I can't help but to keep thinking about frozen.
Yes.
A frozen state. And as a form of, for me, looking at it, being stuck on a time track. Because no matter how many generations Allah allowed me to see, they call the streets a revolving door for a reason, because it's different players, but it's the same game. And that's the sub-zero street mentality to me.
Let's deal with a little states of matter demo kit. L. Ron Hubbard, I think it was in the Philadelphia doctorate course, he goes into what's called the theory of condensation. So let's look at that for a quick minute, since we're scientists. When you deal with the different states of matter, you're dealing with molecules, and you're dealing with atoms, and you're dealing with vibrational energy. And the more the atoms vibrate, the more the electrons are traveling, the more space and the more they expand out, correct? That's how you go from a liquid into a gas, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so now when you have what's called condensation, we know that the sun and moon draw the water up into the Earth's rotation in a fine mist that the naked eye can hardly detect. That's Osman Muslim lesson number 2. And we know, based on the temperature of those currents, some are real cold and warm and some are swift and changeable, correct?
Yes, sir.
But as it gets heavier in the current, it distills back in the form of
Yeah.
drops of water or drops of ice.
Yes, sir.
Is a formula given to us in the language of meteorology. This is a demo.
Mm-hmm.
This is an allegory, a metaphor, and a simile all wrapped up in one. So what that is saying is this: when we study anything, we are slowly gathering, we're taking the knowledge as we read, and the knowledge is going what? The knowledge is going up in a fine mist that the naked eye can hardly detect, correct?
Yes, sir.
So as we read and as we study, the information gathers and it forms into what's called wisdom. And then when the wisdom becomes heavy, it distills back in the form of understanding. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so that Lost Found Muslim lesson number 2, question number 8, that whole picture, every time you go through it, there's more wisdom that we can extract from that. There's more information that we can extract from that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Sister Sultana, I saw you come in. It's been a while. Assalamu alaikum. How are you doing, sister? If she can hear us, I'm sure I will hear from her soon enough. Okay, so now if you look at this, we're talking about the sub-zero tone scale. If you look at the top 3, state of power change, and state of affluence, that's like 3.0 and above, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. State of normal operation. Oh, wait, let me go back to condensation for a minute. So when you have a liquid and you keep drawing the energy out, yes, ma'am, I see your sister Sultana. When you draw more energy out, the atoms, the vibrations slow down and they take up less and less space. And that's why when you go from a gas to a liquid, you have less volume. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And then when you continue to pull the energy out, this is where you have what's called exothermic reactions and endothermic reactions. When you extract the energy out, that means you go from a liquid down to a solid. So the only difference between a solid and a gaseous state is the same material, it's the same molecules, it's the same elements, except in a gaseous state, there's a lot of energy and there's an expansion of space. And in a solid, there is a lack of energy and there is the removal of space. So what he said was, in the theory of condensation, he says, the more, if you want to make someone aberrated, take up their space. Suppress them into smaller and smaller areas. Look at the neighborhoods out in the suburbs and how far apart people are living, and look at how closely packed in we are in the hood.
Mm-hmm.
Look at how we were brought
Absolutely.
over in the Middle Passage. We were packed together like sardines, correct?
Yes, sir.
So the more we lose our space, the space is indirectly proportional to aberration.
Mm-hmm.
As our space increases, our aberration decreases. As our space decreases, our aberrative mind increases. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
So now when you look at state of emergency, state of danger, and a state of non-existence, I was looking at that from the standpoint of 2.0 down to 0.0. And then the ones in red, state of liability, state of doubt, enemy, treason, and confusion, those are all those like the sub-zero locators. Yes?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Come on up in here. All right. Here's what he says. The first thing to know about them is that each step in a formula is in the exact sequence and must be done in that sequence. It is totally fatal to reverse the order of sequence of 2 or more actions.
Mm-hmm.
Words, the process the Nation of Islam is what? All wise and does everything
Right and exact.
right and exact. In order to get out of this problem, we have to take what we have and use it in the prescribed manner. Yes?
Yeah. So we get some monkeys and apes.
Say what?
And so we'll end up with some monkeys and apes like trying to grab that.
We're trying to grasp some other stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or we'll be like Columbus. Columbus
Oh,
wanted
yeah.
the riches of the East, but at that time, Islam was a wall there. He couldn't get the riches of the East, so Columbus wanted to travel. He wanted to travel west to circumvent Islam to get the riches, and then got lost. Correct?
Yes, sir.
So that's a lesson. That's a metaphor for individuals that want wisdom but don't want Islam. They want the wisdom, but they don't want the discipline. So we have individuals that want the lessons, but don't want the discipline. And I remember being told that an individual can have the lessons, but if you don't have a love and respect for the Savior through whom the lessons come, he won't allow you entry into the understanding of those lessons.
You'll get stuck, huh?
Right.
You get stuck. Or you begin to make an interpretation.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So you have individuals that thought they were going to get more gold for their labor.
Mm-hmm.
They had the lessons, but they didn't want the discipline.
Mm-hmm.
So the condition formula follows the same principle as PEMDAS. Who knows PEMDAS?
Order of operations.
That's called the order of operations. This is what we call the restrictive law of mathematics. In every mathematical operation, you got to deal with parentheses first. Then you have to deal with exponents, multiplication, division, addition, and subtraction. And you have to do it in that order. See, we want to follow the teachings, but we want to do it in a way other than how the minister is giving it to us to do. We want to circumvent the minister. The minister is the door, correct? Yeah, with me?
Absolutely.
Yes, absolutely.
I keep saying this because I can't see everyone, but as long as I can hear you, the minister is the door. And when individuals want to circumvent the minister, that it's just like being a little Columbus. They want to travel west to go east, and they get lost. And then finally, the prodigal son has to come home and realize that there's only one door to the Most High Elijah Muhammad.
Oh, yes.
So the teachings of the Most High Elijah Muhammad also follow the same principle as PEMDAS. There's a certain way to do it, and it has to be done in the way in which he has given it to us, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. He says on page 72, a key datum is that if the formulas are not known or not correctly applied, an organism emerges from each crisis smaller.
Mm.
And this is why we keep experiencing what's called the ups and downs of life, correct?
Yes, sir.
We have the data, but we want to do it in the way that we want to do it.
Mm. And would that be leaning to our own understanding?
Yes, yes, ma'am. That would be leaning on our understanding, and we ain't really got none.
Mm.
He says, what is the code of conduct you should use to stay healthy under these conditions? These are the condition formulas. Now, watch this. Look at the word code of conduct.
Mm-hmm.
Can we say that the 99 attributes represent a code of conduct?
Yes, sir, we can say that.
We can say that, right? Because the characteristics of Allah is the code of conduct. Yes?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Okay.
What about restrictive law too?
Oh, yes. That's restrictive law, most definitely. That's going to be a topic for another discussion.
Okay, yes, sir. We'll put a pin in it.
Okay. So now, remember, we have what's called the law of substitution. Who remembers the law of substitution in mathematics?
I think I do.
If you don't remember it, I'll just spit it out there.
Okay, let's spit it.
Go ahead. You want to try it?
No. I said go ahead.
Okay. The law of substitution states when you have two variables, even though the variables are different, if they have the same value, you can interchange the variables.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, put your thinking caps on for a minute. If I said x plus 5 equals 7, then x equals what?
2.
2, okay? Because x is a placeholder for the number of 2. So x plus 5 is 7, x has to be 2. If I said y plus 3 equals 5, y has to equal
2.
2. In other words, the x and the y are two totally different letters, and if you look at them outwardly, they are different, correct?
Yes, sir.
But inwardly, the unseen, they are exactly the same.
Yeah.
And it teaches us that two things can appear to be different, but the appearance can be deceiving. Because if we really understood what these two things actually meant, we would understand that they're saying exactly the same thing. And that's what we have to understand about the tech and our Islam. There's things that appear to be different, but they are the same, correct?
Right.
Okay, now, that in mind, again, did everyone go on mute? I hear some background noise there somewhere. If we said a code of conduct is the equivalent to the 99 attributes of Allah,
That's Sister Patricia's background.
try to get to it here. I can't get to it. Okay. So what is the code of conduct you should use to stay healthy under these conditions? These are the condition formulas. Then we look at the concept, a code of conduct is equivalent to the 99 attributes. Then could we not say, what is the attribute of Allah God you should use to stay healthy under these conditions? These are condition formula. Could we say that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. That means in the time of trouble that we're now living in, one of the solutions, the minister said that the only place of refuge is in the bosom of Allah, correct? Have we heard that before?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So one of the ways we could possibly understand that is to say that in order to maintain our sanity in this time that we're living in, we have to take on the mindset of Allah. We have to rise above the emotion into the mind and thinking of God. Yes?
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Okay. He says, a vital thing to realize is that the formulas of conditions exist. They are part and parcel to any activity in this universe. And now they are known, they must be complied with. Now that they are known, they must be complied with. This takes about 90% of change. I always have these little misspellings in here, of our business operation or personal economics. The variables are only how well one estimates the situation and how energetic one is applying the formulas. The next thing to know is that the proper application of the proper formula works. It works no matter how stupidly it is applied, only so long as the right formula is applied and the exact sequence of steps is taken. So what it's saying is there's nothing that we're not encountering that there's not a solution already prescribed for it. We just have to understand recognize the condition, choose the right formula, and then apply it. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So let's look at the 99 attributes. This part is going to be very, very brief. There's an ayat in the Holy Quran that says, we take Allah's color, and who is better than Allah at coloring, and we are his worshipers. That is Surah Al-Baqarah, which is the cow, Surah 2, Ayat 138. Now, if we just look at this on face value, what it means to take Allah's color.
To be like him.
It would mean that, but if we take it superficially, we get lost. Because how can we take Allah's color? That means Allah would have to have color. Then how do people gauge the fact that Allah is spirit and spirit doesn't have color. Then so here's where the contradiction comes up. But when you look at the fact that we know that Allah is not spirit alone, but Allah comes in the flesh, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. So now when you look in the Holy Quran where he says some faces he turned black and some faces he turns white, then you have some people they go run with that. But we have to look at the Arabic. And the Arabic, when you look at the Arabic word for it would turn some faces white, the Arabic word is describing the tone levels 3.0 and above.
Mm.
When you look at the word black, yeah, it means black, but there's other meanings for the word. It comes from the word aswad, which is the Arabic word, and it describes the tone levels from 2.0 down to 0. That's what the Arabic is describing.
Yes, sir.
It's turning black. It's talking about 2.0, 1.5, and 1.1, and possibly 0.5. And then some faces turning white is talking about 3.0 up. Was that you, Brother Troy?
Yes, sir.
Right,
I'm glad you brought up the tone scale, because when you look at the tone scale, as we go in and out of the different levels of the tone scale, from it being happy, exhilarant, being peaceful, being bored, being in conservative, all those different areas, you will find when you study a person, they have a change of color physically.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they physical appearance changes when you go through those variations of the tone scale. So I just wanted to bring that.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir. Thank you, brother. The word in Arabic for color is sabaga. So we take Allah's color, but again, we do word clearing, because to me, the ayats in the Holy Quran, Allah said, the minister told us, Allah is a scientist who speaks in the language of formulae, correct?
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
When we begin to look at the ayats as formulas, if we look at the ayats as equations, then the Arabic words are like the variables, because one word in Arabic can have a multitude of definitions, correct?
Correct.
Yes.
That means for every input you put in the equation, you're going to produce a new output, but the equation never changes, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So when you look at the word sabaga, and you know that one of the meanings is character or nature, then we can input that word back into the equation / ayah, and it says, we take Allah's character, we take Allah's nature, and who is better than Allah at providing the nature, and we are his worshipers. So the more we pray to Allah, what happens? It says, surely I have turned myself to thee, O Allah. But in Arabic, it's inna wajatu wajahi, is I turn my face to your face. I'm turning my nature to your nature. I'm trying to get rid of my nature and take on your nature. I want to get rid of my character and take on your character. Does that make sense?
Praise be to Allah.
Absolutely.
Okay. And then when you look at the word nuance, nuance is a subtle distinction or variation, but it comes from the French word nuer, which means to shade by gradual transition, to blend, or to match. So as each day goes by and every day we're blessed to put our feet on the floor, we're giving another day to blend our character into the character of Allah. Does that make sense? So we can become that. We can become the children of the Most High God. Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So the whole purpose of everything we're doing right now is to gradually manifest the character of Allah. Now, how is this connected to the Hubbard chart of evaluations? A lot of you can't tell me that L. Ron Hubbard didn't meet the Savior. I refuse to accept it.
Right.
Okay. If you look at the chart, this chart is the one that you find in Science of Survival. If you look at 2.5 on the chart, the transition state is called boredom, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, when you look at boredom, there's a verse in the Bible, and I have idle spelt in 2 different ways, and I think both of them are relevant. An idle mind or an idle mind is the devil's workshop. And we know the devil is the reactive minds, right?
Right. Yes, sir.
Okay. But now, if you look on that chart, the amount of theta that is available, which was an arbitrary number that L. Ron Hubbard used at 2.5, is 32, correct?
Yes, sir.
That's the middle point. Now, what's the significance of 32? Well, 32 is the point where water starts to freeze.
Right.
So when we sit still too long, when we have an idle mind, what happens to us? We start to freeze, right?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So we either have to go up the scale toward infinity by working, or we become ice and we're stuck in place. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So 2.5 on the chart corresponds to freezing. This is where we start to, that's why the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad says, and I keep it right here, it says, no matter what's going on in your life, work. If you're happy, work. If you're sad, work. If you're not feeling well, work. And L. Ron Hubbard says, as soon as you start working, you are now at tone 20.0.
Wow.
So you can't, so it's hard to work and have an idle mind at the same time, correct?
That's facts.
Right. Right.
And L. Ron Hubbard states, once you hit 2.5 and you start dropping to 2.0, that's when the reactive mind clicks on. When the engrams turn on. That's when the demon circuit, the whispering of the slinking devil, starts to whisper. It's hard for the demon to whisper when we're at 4.0 or above.
Right.
It's when we're sitting still, when we're doing nothing. And if you notice, when we sit still and we do nothing, that's when we start getting sucked down the time track, correct?
Yes, sir.
Correct.
Okay. And that's why I'm a firm believer. I think the prayers that we do 5 times a day, when you look at prayer from the perspective of the tech, these are 5 prescribed times during the day where we come back to present time.
Yes, sir.
Nice. Repeat that again, brother.
I said, that's why I believe prayer at 5 times a day, these are 5 times during the day where we are brought back to present time.
Right. Right.
Absolutely. That's an objective thing. Absolutely.
And if we are missing our prayers, it's possibly because we're stuck in some event on our time track.
Yes, sir. Makes sense.
Now, when you look at 3.0 on the Hubbard chart of human evaluations, which is described as very high normal, there are 47 units of theta. Now, what's Surah 47? Surah 47 is Muhammad. And it's also called war. And the Arabic word for war is kitab. So it's interesting that at 3.0, we're going to war now. Now you have Muhammad, one worthy of praise. What are we doing? We're starting we're starting to move up the tone scale now, right?
Right.
And the Arabic word for qital means to fight, struggle, or contention. Who are we at war with? We're at war with the reactive mind, yes?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Now, what happens at 3.5? That's called a Dianetic release. And here, there are 70 units of theta. Surah 70 is called what? The ways of ascent. Everyone with me so far?
Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
Make sure my information.
God Almighty.
Yes. So, does someone have a question? Okay. At 4.0, we have what's called mess clear. And on that, there are 100 units. So we can say 100 units. We can say the Al-Asma Al-Husna, the glorious names of Allah, 99 attributes plus 1. Does that make sense?
Definitely.
Okay, and the plus 1 is the name Allah. And the name Allah is one word that is the sum total of all the words, correct?
Right. Yes, sir.
Will you please scroll up?
Say what?
Scroll down, can't see the last line.
Oh, you can't see the last? I can see it on mine.
Oh, let's leave mine.
Yeah, the 4.0.
Yeah, 4.0 is the last one.
Sister Peggy has a question.
Go ahead, Sister Peggy.
Okay, one more time. So it says at 2.5, there's a state called boredom.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you get the idle mind? So is 32 come from 2 point? How do you get 32?
Oh, it's on the chart. If you have the chart, if you
I have
actually
a
have the
chart.
chart, the Hubbard chart of human evaluations and Dianetic processing.
Oh, the chart, that one.
Yeah, the chart from Science of Survival.
Okay, wait. Oh, okay. I got it. Okay.
This is our sister who is currently 40 miles above on the Starship Enterprise.
Praise be to Allah.
Okay.
Yep. So if you look all the way to your left, you're going to see where it says free theta. That's an arbitrary number he uses to show how much theta you have available. And then when you get up to 40, there's approximately 1,000, but even tone 40 isn't the top. So
Okay.
you see the numbers on the left?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes. Oh, I missed that. I've been looking for that interpretation of 32 for the longest. I know what it says in the Supreme Wisdom that the sister's blood pressure registers more than 32. She's not quite frozen, but so she's at a 2.5.
Well,
so maybe she's a little high. Maybe she's a little higher than a 2.5.
Well, I would say no, and here's why.
Okay.
Because when you deal with that 32 coming from the problem book, question number 2, we're talking about pulse pressure. So that 32, above 32 in that context is bad. Above 32 in the context of the chart of human evaluations is actually good. So those 32s wouldn't be the same. Does that make sense?
Right.
Okay, Sister Peggy. We know.
We could go. Well, I was thinking about. No, okay. I just wanted to know where you got it.
Okay.
I'm just stuck on that 32. So
yeah,
we
that
can
32
go.
is from the chart itself.
Okay.
So on the chart, above 32 is good.
Okay.
Okay.
So that's what it says. She's more than 32. She's above 32.
But see, now if she's above 32, that's detrimental. So it's a different context of the number 32. Because when you look at her pulse, because the uncle's pulse registers more than 32 as well. But the context of that 32 is when you look at it from pulse pressure, when you take the difference between the systolic and the diastolic, the upper number and the lower number, and when you have a large span in between that your blood pressure, that's a bad thing. Okay. You good, Sister Peggy?
I'm good.
Okay. So now when you look at the upper tone levels on the chart, these upper tones do not describe spirits, spooks, or ghosts, do they?
No, sir.
So whenever we're dealing with the chart, we're dealing with the characteristics and the tone levels of individuals, yes?
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
Okay. So the upper tone levels can represent the mathematical representation of the characteristics or the color of wise and righteous individuals. Could we agree on that?
Oh, yes, sir.
Okay. So the work of Brother L. Ron Hubbard produced equations and formulae that give a mathematical understanding of our supreme wisdom lessons. When we use these two in conjunction, we can take what the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad has taught and is teaching through the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. We know it's true, but when you take this and you use the tech as a tool, now we have the equations that give us the elements of why this is true and how this is true.
Right.
That's why Scientology is knowing how to know. We have the teachings and we know they're true, But when we use the tech, we know why and how they are true. And that's the key. Because if we're tested on something and someone says, well, explain that to me in your own language, then we can't just recite what the minister said. Because if we can't explain something in our own language, if we have to take a test, when you study information to take a test and you just try to regurgitate information, if there's a test, if one of the test questions is explain in your own words this concept, and if you just repeat what the teacher said, then you're not going to get a passing grade for that. And then L. Ron Hubbard says it like this: if you can't take a concept and put it in your own words, then you don't understand it.
Right.
Okay.
Makes sense.
So now let's look at the relationship between the 99 attributes and the chart of human evaluations. We're going to look at science of survival, and we're going to look at the 99 attributes of Allah. If you look at column G, in column G, it describes affinity. Love, comma, strong, correct? I don't think everyone has the chart, but Sister Peggy, do you see column G?
I have it.
Okay, you see where it says column G, affinity, love, and strong?
Love and strong. That's
okay. So now then that has to be the characteristic of an individual that's high on the tone scale, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so how would you say that in Arabic or Islam? You would say al-wadud, the loving.
Right, right, okay.
Now,
okay.
let's use an example. Sister Peggy, I'll send you the PowerPoint.
okay. Well,
I'll send you the PowerPoint. Now let's look at an example. Does the minister represent the high level on column G?
Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
yes.
Okay. So he is a manifestation of the loving, yes?
Yes.
Now, if Allah is the loving, that means the represents the definite article. That means there is no love that exists outside of Allah's love, correct?
Right.
So when I love you and you love me, who is really loving one another? This is Allah loving both of us through us, yes?
Right. Right.
So how do you know if Allah loves you? When believers say, I love you, who's really saying it?
Mm. Okay.
Can we give love to someone else that is not a part of Allah's love?
No, sir.
No, because he is the love.
Right.
Now, Sister Peggy, you got column H, and that says sonic, right? Full sonic recall.
Full sonic recall.
Okay. Now, when someone has full sonic recall, what is that describing? It has something to do with hearing, correct?
Sound, able to recall sound.
They can recall things that they've heard. Yes.
Mm.
So when you look at Allah, isn't he al-Sami? Doesn't he hear past, present, and future?
All hearing, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
He's the all hearing. So he has full sonic recall of past, present, and future. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Column I is talking about visio, full visual recall. But when you deal with Allah, you're talking about what? Past, present, and future, correct?
Yes, sir.
That is why he is al-Basir, the all-seeing.
Go ahead.
So if you go through the top of the whole chart of human evaluations, you and I are looking at the characteristics of the God.
Wow.
Absolutely.
Wow. Yes, sir.
If you look at column K, it's talking about speech with regards to talking and listening, correct?
Yes.
That means he speaks what? He speaks in past, present, and future tense, being what? Perfect.
Perfect.
Well, what's that as an attribute? That's called al-kalim, the best speaker.
Wow.
Now, look at those 4 attributes and ask yourself, does the minister manifest those qualities?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. In column N, it says condition of track and valence. Moves at will. Own valence is everywhere. How does the minister move when he was traveling? He traveled at will, right?
Right.
In body and out of body, correct?
Right. Okay. Yes, sir.
Okay. Allah is al-fa'ala, the doer of what he intends. Allah moves at will. Allah says kun fayakun, correct?
Yes, sir.
Yep.
And then own valence everywhere. That means Allah is al-baki. He's the ever-present or the omnipresent. Yes?
Right. Yes, sir.
Now, this is just a couple. I'm not going to go into all of them, but we can go through that human chart of evaluations
and see
and if you see the pattern, there's a pattern there. 3.0 and above, a person. Now remember, there's a surah there's an ayat in the Holy Quran where it says you will know them by their marks. You will know them by the tone of their speech. Correct.
Right. Right.
And it's the only place in the Holy Quran where you find the statement tone of speech. You will know people by the tone of speech. And then in the first paragraph of Science and Survival, when you're talking about column K, L. Ron Hubbard says the best index of where a person is on the tone scale is through their speech, correct?
Yes, sir.
So there's a direct correlation between Science and Survival and the ayah in the Holy Quran. So these are just a few marriages that we make between the Hubbard chart of human evaluation. And then if you go into what's called the chart of attitudes, that's the one that comes with self-analysis. And I think it comes also with the handbook for pre-clears. There's what they call the 12 buttons. If you go across them, you will see one is faith, one is I am. And then we know Allah is I am, correct?
Right.
Okay. So there are more relationships between these two sciences that will be covered at a later date, Allah willing. So at another date, what I hope to do is to go through all of the elements of the human chart of evaluation on the upper level and show how they correspond to different ayats in the Holy Quran, and then show how the minister has given us as an example based on those upper levels of the tone scale. Anything up to this point? Questions, comments, thoughts before we move on?
Praise be to Allah.
Let's keep it going. The 8 dynamics. Is there anyone that does not understand the 8 dynamics? Or do you think we need a quick review of the 8 dynamics? Yes, no? If everyone's good, I won't pull up the video. I won't pull up the video anyway. It's not long. It's not long.
Good.
Yeah, it's not long. Not a long video.
Yeah.
Yeah, it wouldn't hurt. Right here. Can y'all see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Every living thing has one single goal in common: survival. You are trying to achieve the highest level of survival possible for as long as possible. As one looks out across the confusion, which is life to most people, you will find that life can actually be subdivided into 8 parts or 8 urges towards survival. In Scientology, these are called the dynamics. The first dynamic can be called the self dynamic. This is the effort to survive as an individual, to be an individual. It includes one's own body and one's own mind. It is the effort to attain the highest level of survival for the longest possible time
for self. The second dynamic can be called the sex dynamic. This dynamic actually has two divisions. It is the urge towards survival through one, the sexual act itself, and two, through the family unit, including the care and raising of children. The third dynamic can be called the group dynamic. This is the urge to survive through a group of individuals or as a group. The fourth dynamic can be called the mankind dynamic. This is the urge towards survival through all mankind and as all mankind. The fifth dynamic is life forms. This is the urge to survive as life forms and with the help of all life forms. It is the effort to survive for any and every form of life. It is the interest in life as such. The sixth dynamic is the physical universe, or MEST. MEST stands for matter, energy, space, and time, which are the component parts of the physical universe. It is the urge to survive of the physical universe and with the help of the physical universe and each one of its component parts. The seventh dynamic is the spiritual dynamic. It is the urge to survive as spiritual beings, or the urge for life itself to survive. The eighth dynamic is the urge toward existence as infinity. The eighth dynamic is commonly supposed to be a supreme being or creator. Correctly defined as infinity, it actually embraces the allness of all. It is represented here by the symbol for infinity. The dynamics could best be represented as a series of concentric circles, wherein the first dynamic would be the center, and each new dynamic would be successively a circle outside it. The basic characteristic of the individual includes his ability to expand into the other dynamics. But only when the seventh dynamic, the spiritual dynamic, is reached in its entirety will one discover the true eighth dynamic, the creator. A person is at his best and his happiest when he is surviving well in every area of his life. Scientology is for use and has workable technology for you to increase your survival across all dynamics.
All right, so we have if we had a little understanding, we have a better understanding of the eight dynamics now, correct?
Yes, sir. Okay. All mathematics.
Say what?
All mathematics, I see.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay. So basically a quick summary, the eight dynamics. The first dynamic is self, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Second dynamic, when we're talking about sex and family, when we look at this from the perspective of
marriage
or teachings, that's marriage. Because we're not talking about sex and family outside of marriage. I mean, it happens, but the ideal state is you got to include the word marriage in those two. Then you have what's called the group dynamic, mankind, which is the fourth dynamic. The fifth dynamic is life. But now here, when I put life science, because our teaching says that we have to study the science of everything in life, correct? Y'all with me?
Yes.
Okay, science of everything in life and mathematical, Islam is mathematics and mathematics is Islam. Everything with us is math and science and computation. So the fifth dynamic is the life dynamic. But in order to study the life dynamic, that is called the life sciences. In other words, when you study biology or you study botany or you study any of the schools of thought with regards to life, you're talking about life science, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Right.
The sixth dynamic is dealing with matter, energy, space, and time. But when you look at that from the language of a scientist, Now, and when I say this, I mean this from the perspective of page 312, pages 311 and 312 of Closing the Gap. Does that make sense?
Okay.
Sister Angela, could you pull up the top paragraph of page 312 for me real quick?
Yeah, give me 1 minute.
Okay.
Brother, go ahead. You go back. Sir, he said Sister Angela first. Roll up in my business. Okay, give me 1 minute. Oh, you probably ran out here. Go ahead. You move.
Trying to take the book from you, Sister Angela?
He probably took the book. I'm in my hardcover right now. Closing the Gap.
Yep. Page
312.
Yes, ma'am. Top
you want me to read the entire paragraph?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Un momento, por favor.
Of course.
Sí, señorita.
Okay. And here we go. All right. Am I starting from Almighty Allah?
Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Almighty Allah has taught me that if we study the universe and the nature of the earth, its plants, animals, and insect life, if we study this part of Allah's creation and the natural laws working among them, we will have the key to the understanding of the way of life intended by God for you and me.
And that next sentence after that.
Okay. Oh yeah, of course. This is the language of a scientist.
Okay. Now let's look at that for a quick second. He's talking about the science on the earth, but he's also talking about the nature of the universe, correct?
Yes, sir.
We're talking about the fifth and the sixth dynamic. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Okay. But now, so when you deal specifically with the sixth dynamic, when you deal with matter, energy, space, and time, you're dealing with physics, science, and mathematics. Okay. And when I'm saying science, I'm talking about the sciences like chemistry. Okay. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
So your fifth dynamic, you're talking about life science. But when you get to the sixth dynamic, you're talking about physics, science, and mathematics. Well, what's the difference between physics and science? Physics is really the study of the laws behind the science. Mathematics is the language that's used to study the laws behind science. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So when we deal with the different levels of mathematics, we know Islam is mathematics, mathematics is Islam, and it stands true. You can always prove it, no limit of time. But we know mathematics is a word that's used to describe a whole set of concepts. Is algebra a part of mathematics?
Absolutely.
If algebra is mathematics, there's a law in mathematics that's called the transitive law. If A equals B and B equals C, then A equals C, correct?
Yes. Right.
And one time the minister said, if side side of one triangle is the same as side of another triangle, those two triangles are congruent, yes?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Right. So then we could say, since algebra is mathematics, we can substitute the word algebra in. So Islam is algebra, and algebra is Islam, right?
Yes, sir.
Then as we study algebra, wouldn't we be studying an algebraic theology?
Right.
Okay.
Is trigonometry mathematics?
Yes, sir.
Then Islam is trigonometry, and trigonometry is Islam, yes?
Yes, sir.
Is genetics mathematics?
Yes, sir.
So Islam is genetics, and genetics is Islam, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Right. Then we would be studying a genetic theology, yes?
Yes, sir.
So in all the sciences, really, all the sciences are theologies. Well, how can you prove this? The minister says in Torchlight for America, pages 48 to page 51, you have to put Allah at the center of what you're studying. And when we put Allah at the center of what we're studying, that level of study becomes a theology. So we don't just study calculus, we study the theology of calculus, the theology of algebra, the theology of chemistry, the theology of quantum physics. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Then the seventh dynamic, we're dealing with the spirit. In the Holy Quran, wherever you see the word heart, okay, if you see the word heart, there's two key words in the Holy Quran that describe heart. One word in Arabic is kalaba, which means heart, but it also means mind, spirit, and it means the best part. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Then you'll see another word called nafs. The word nafs also means mind and spirit as well. Okay. Then we deal with the eighth dynamic. That's infinity. For us, could we say that the eighth dynamic represents a person?
Oh, the book. Yes, sir.
Huh?
I say yes, sir.
So for us, the eighth dynamic is not a mystery.
No, sir.
Eighth dynamic is an individual.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Does everyone understand that part?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Now, here's how we're going to marry this real quick. And this part will only take a couple of minutes, and then we're going to land this plane. So now what happens when we marry the 99 attributes with the 8 dynamics? We're only going to deal with one attribute. Okay. We'll deal with one attribute, and then you can take it upon yourself to do the same thing we're doing now, but do it with the other attributes. Okay. So if you look at Surat al-Fatiha, in life, Allah is providing the situations, which are the conditions or circumstances that provides the opportunity for us to evaluate our environment and figure out the correct equation or formula to become successful, correct?
Yes, sir.
So the trials of life are not designed to destroy us. The difficulties are designed to make us stronger.
Mm-hmm.
Allah says in the Holy Quran that the trials are used to destroy the disbelievers, but the same trials are used to purify the believers. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I had a cognition of that.
Well, drop it. You can't keep that to yourself.
When you said the trials are designed to purify the believers, I immediately went to condensation, or this as it states in the lessons, precipitation.
Mm-hmm.
And this steam's or cream's ability to rise during the purification becomes lighter and not heavier, so it continuously ascends.
Mm. Yes, ma'am. And you mentioned the word cream, correct?
Yes, sir.
Cream of the planet Earth. One thing Brother Robin had dropped one time. He says when you look at the first question and answer of the student enrollment, who is the original man, the Asiatic black man, the maker, the owner, the cream of the planet Earth, God of the universe? He said that represents like a cycle of action on a gradient scale. Because first we make, then we own, then we're the cream of the planet Earth, and then we become who? God of the universe, right? Y'all with me?
Cycle of action.
It's a cycle of action. But here's the kicker based on what you just said. Cream of the planet Earth. The word cream in Arabic is safwa. Safwa. And guess what one of the meanings of the word safwa is, Brother Troy?
Clear.
Yeah, it means to be clear.
I'm not Brother Troy, but I had to.
It means to be clear. So it's like a cycle of action. Now, in the near future, when we talk about God of the universe, I'm gonna drop this out as like not a what do you say, like a pre of things to come.
A prelude.
L. Ron Hubbard talks about the 3 universes. the mesh universe, your universe, and the universe of other people.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a direct correlation of those three universes that's found in the Holy Quran.
Lord of all the worlds.
No, not even that. There's something else that's there. And we'll, inshallah, maybe next Sunday, whenever Allah places it upon our heart to do it. But I was blessed to see something in the Holy Quran that corresponds to what L. Ron Hubbard was saying with the three universes. Mm-hmm. And we know Allah is the God over all three, correct?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Okay. Let's get some stable datum real quick on the one thing that the minister says about the trials of life. Study guide number 3, overcoming difficulty, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Everything of value has a
difficulty factor. Yes, sir.
And the difficulty factor is designed to see how bad we want what we say what we want. Because a lot of us can say, yeah, I want, and then when the trial comes, the trial just it extinguishes our light for what we wanted. Then we really probably didn't want it. Correct?
Mm-hmm.
If it would have been a short journey and a large gain, everyone would have gone, right?
Right. Absolutely.
Let me see if I can find this real quick. This is a real quick clip of the minister. There it is right there. Yes. Okay. Y'all see my screen?
Yes.
You got to go to get where you want to go. And the fire is not your enemy. Be in harmony with the fire and let the fire purify the draw from your character.
Oh, it's a quick one, but y'all get the picture, right?
Can you play it again? It was a little low for me.
Okay, yes, ma'am. Well, definitely.
Get where you want to go. And the fire is not your enemy. Be in harmony with the fire and let the fire purify the draw from your character.
Got it?
I got it. Have you ever seen Lovecraft Country?
Say what?
You ever seen the miniseries Lovecraft Country?
No, I'm in the process of starting that back up again.
Okay, so when she in that fire, you're gonna think of this part right here.
All right. So now we're going to do one attribute that we're going to land this plane. If you look at Al-Fatiha, there's the 4 attributes are given to us in Al-Fatiha. Maliki Yawmuddin, Rabbil Alameen, Al-Rahman, and Al-Rahim, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Let's look at Maliki Yawmuddin. The word Malik means mastery.
Mm-hmm.
You deal with Yawm, you're dealing with time. And when you deal with Deen, you're dealing with judgment, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so Allah is Maliki Yawmuddin. He is the master of the day of judgment. Okay, that means he has mastery over everything that's taking place right now, correct?
Yes, sir.
But now, if we are responsible for our own universe, do we not have to also manifest the same attribute on our level?
Absolutely.
Okay, so we got to be little Maliki Yawmuddin, in other words, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So in Arabic, Malik means to rule, to exercise power and authority, to have oneself under control, to make the owner, to gain control over one's feelings, or have to gain self-control. Well, isn't that what auditing is all about?
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that what Dianetic processing is all about?
Yes, sir.
Isn't that the removal of the charge and refiling the memory into standard memory banks? Isn't that had to gain control over our feelings because the charge has been removed?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, when you do a yawn, you're dealing with time, but it also means daily work. It means calendar. So could we say to be master over time, wouldn't that be the same as writing our history in advance?
Yes, sir.
Isn't that the same as postulating?
Yes, yes.
Doesn't Allah say in the Holy Quran that he's the doer of what he intends? Isn't that postulating?
Oh, yeah. Never be a liar.
Is postulating the same as kun fayakun?
Being it is.
Okay. And then when you deal with deen or judgment, you're dealing with discernment, the ability to grasp or comprehend or to have perception.
Mm-hmm.
So Allah is Maliki Yawm Medin. He's the master of the day of judgment, but now we have a universe that he has given us to become God over, and now we have to be little Maliki Yawm Din over our little part of this universe, correct?
Yes, sir.
So we have to know how to exercise power and authority in our circumference. We have to take and put ourselves under control. We have to settle on the best part. We have to gain control over our feelings and exhibit and manifest self-control, right?
Yes, sir.
How often we have to do this?
All the time.
Day, every day.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Especially looking in question and answer number one. What's the found Muslim? That's a number one. I always wonder what made that the first question. Why isn't the devil settling the best part of him?
Mm-hmm. We got to take control. We can't let them settle on the best part. Okay. So now you see, now take Maliki Yawmuddin on an individual basis. Can you look at this from an individual perspective?
Absolutely.
Does everyone agree and does everyone understand how to apply this to the self?
Yes, sir.
Okay, now watch this. So a quick summary is we have to exercise power over ourselves with respect to time and our environment. That's Maliki Yawmuddin as far as Sister Peggy, Brother Lukman, Sister Carol, correct? That's what we got to do.
Yes, sir.
Okay, now. So what is Maliki Yawmuddin with respect to the first dynamic?
Self. Islam.
Okay. Okay. Self-improvement, the basis for community development, self-examination, self-analysis, self-correction. Yes?
Yes.
Right.
Okay. Well, what is Maliki Yawmuddin with regards to marriage and family and sex?
Accountability.
Okay. Accountability.
Responsibility.
Here comes the 8 steps of atonement, correct?
Right. Yeah.
Okay. 8 steps of atonement. Well, what's Maliki Yawmuddin with regards to any groups that we're a member of?
I could still see the 8 steps of atonement.
Okay. 8 steps of atonement, self-determinism, responsibility. What's Maliki Yawmuddin with regards to the fourth dynamic?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Oh, that's the golden rule.
The golden rule. We have to learn this tech. And our lessons say, with regards to the 5%, to teach all of the human family of the planet.
That's right.
Not just Black people.
Yes,
You would have to be able to administer tech or anything to anyone who asked for help, correct?
Right.
Absolutely. Do unto others as you want done unto yourself.
So we have to rise above our emotions, and we have to be put into a position to affect change and to solve the problems of humanity.
Wow.
Okay. Now here's where it's going to get interesting. What is Maliki Yawmuddin with regards to life science?
Unemotional, rise above emotions into the thinking of God.
Okay, but let's get a little more specific. What do we have to start studying?
Everything. Or what mathematics?
Well, not yet. But let's go back to Closing the Gap 312.
Oh yeah.
We have to start studying the nature of life on this planet, because the messenger said what? Isn't that the language of a scientist?
Yeah.
That means to speak the language of a scientist, wouldn't we have to study science?
Right.
So when we study life science, wouldn't we have to do it from the perspective of Maliki Yawm-Ad-Din?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And what's Maliki Yawm-Ad-Din with regards to mest?
Oh, who we being our natural self.
It would be in our natural self, but let's make it more specific. Don't we have to take the time to study mathematics, science, and physics?
Matter,
Yes, sir.
energy, space, and time.
Because if we don't study mathematics, how can we learn about our miserable condition in a mathematical way if we're afraid of mathematics?
Right.
How do we apply Maliki Yawm-Ad-Din with regards to the seventh dynamic?
Spiritually. Belief in the unseen.
Keep up prayer, spend out what we have given him, to believe in that which has been revealed to thee, that which was revealed before thee, and the hereafter they are sure.
Right. Right.
Surat al-Baqarah, doesn't that come under the first section that's titled the fundamentals?
Yeah. Right. Yes, sir.
Now, what's Maliki Yawm-Ad-Din with regards to the eighth dynamic? And this is particular and special for us in the nation. Why?
Master Fard Muhammad.
Hallelujah. That's point number 12 right there. The eighth dynamic is our point number 12. Quick summary. So the concepts, meaning the supreme technology presented from the Church of Scientology, has agreement with the supreme wisdom lessons given to us by the Most High Elijah Muhammad through the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. That's one. Two, we can use this as a tool to gain deeper insight and a greater workability of the Islam that we have already received. And when you look at the Hubbard Chart of Human Evaluations and the 99 attributes, there's ARC between those, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And to study the attributes of Allah is to gain the character or the color or formulae to solve our various states of conditions. Could we agree with that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions, thoughts, concerns, corrections, suggestions, cognitions, or wins before we end this for tonight? Let's see. Sister Deborah, assalamu alaikum. Glad to see you made it.
Walaikum salam, sir. Sorry, I'm just actually getting in from my mosque meeting.
That's okay. Glad you're here.
Yes, sir.
And the iPhone, is that brother Nkazi?
Nkazi.
Yes, sir. Assalamu alaikum. Yes, sir.
Salam, brother. How you doing?
Great.
Okay. And I got Sister Patricia number 1, and I got Sister Patricia number 2. Assalamu alaikum to both the Sister Patricias.
Wa alaikum salam, sir.
How are you?
Oh, it was a long call. I just got off the seed call.
Oh, yeah. Yes, ma'am.
I sent you a message to see if you could send me the recording.
Yes. Yeah, I'm going to post it tonight. I have a couple of Scientologists actually have asked me to post it because they actually still at the org. And
yes, sir.
And I told them I would post it tonight so they could see it from the Harlem org.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Man, very welcome. And Sister Shirley, we're glad you made it again.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam. All right. Does anyone have any last thoughts, questions, statements, cognitions, anything before we wrap it up?
Yeah, real quick. It's Brother Troy.
Go ahead, brother.
Yeah, I'm on my way to work. So
Okay.
yeah, the highlight for me, brother, when you started talking about the attributes of Allah, because for months now I've been studying that particular aspect of Islam. It's the sum total, man. If we really want to be somebody, if we really want to bring out that God in us, we have to. It's imperative that we study those attributes and try to carry those attributes out. And it ties in with the tone scale. Because the more our attributes, the more we develop those attributes or become those attributes, the more our tone rises up. The less we deal with those attributes, the low odds on.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I have.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And just to add some data to that, we know Allah is as-sabor, right? The patient.
Yes, sir.
And so we know the opposite of that is impatient, correct?
Yes, sir.
So at the bottom of the scale, that's where the devil is, impatient. And we know the prefix of impatient is IMP. And the word IMP is what?
Imp.
An imp.
Devil.
And what is
Devil.
an imp? An imp is a small, mischievous devil.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So, Sister
Right.
Peggy, go ahead.
So you wanted me to remind you about this mathematical process, this checksum computer language?
Oh, yes, 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 yes. For those that are interested, starting Wednesday, God willing, because every Wednesday we've been doing the Sunday meeting, we kind of do dynamics, but we deal with the first through the fourth dynamic. And on Wednesday is when we hit the math, the physics, and the science, correct? So we deal with the fifth, sixth, and seventh dynamic and the eighth dynamic on Wednesday. There's a scientist by the name of Dr. Ali Fazili who did extensive research on the Holy Quran and found a treasure trove of such highly developed mathematics based on the structure of the Holy Quran, that the structure of it is based on the concept of prime numbers. So God willing, what we're going to start doing on Wednesday to incorporate our Islam, our Dianetics, and our mathematics, we're going to start studying the Holy Quran from the perspective of what's called number theory. Okay. Now, to do a quick synopsis, because I got to correct this, because it wasn't quite an error, but I didn't give all the information. I'm going to do this real quick because I know time is upon us. For those that are familiar with the concept of computer science, there's something called checksum. And what checksum is if I have a message and let's say I want to send an email to Sister Peggy to remind her about the class on Wednesday. When I type up the message, the computer is not going to send my message exactly as I have sent it. It's going to convert my language into binary mathematics, which is ones and zeros, correct?
Yes, sir.
Are you with me? Okay, so it's going to convert it into computer language. The language puts our words in the fine language that it knows. Computers don't speak English. Computers speak binary, yes?
Yes, sir.
So now once her computer receives the message, it receives also another code called the checksum. So when her computer receives the message, there's a computation that takes place. And if the checksum, if the values line up perfectly, that means that she knows she received the message exactly the way in which I sent it. Okay, does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Okay? It's a way to guarantee that the message wasn't diluted, mixed, or tampered with in any form. The Holy Quran has a checksum on it. And if you make any changes to the Quran, then you change the mathematics of it. And what we covered real quick on Wednesday, we showed that there's a checksum, there's a mathematical structure, and this is just a basic one. There's more in-depth calculations of Holy Quran, which we will deal with, God willing, over the course of the next couple of weeks. But if you take the sum total of all the surahs from 1 to 14, and if you add all those surahs up, you're going to come up with the number 6,555. Okay. Then, if you take all the number of the ayats, you're going to come up with 6,236 ayats in the Holy Quran. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
If I add the numbers from, go ahead, Sister Peggy.
Okay, so you're adding, okay. So you're getting 6,236 what?
Ayats.
Ayats.
Like, for example, Surah number 2 has 286 ayats in it, 286 verses.
Surah number 2 has 2,000.
No, 286.
No, 6,000.
But if you
6,000.
right, if you add all your ayats, you have 6,236 ayats. So here's the two key numbers. 6,555. That's if you add all the numbers from 1 to 114. And then if you add all your ayats, you get 6,236. Okay. Now, if you take, and this is based on the verse in the Holy Quran that says by the even and the odd. Has everyone familiar with that verse in the Holy Quran, by the even and the odd?
Yes.
Okay. Now, if you take Surah number 2 has 286 ayats, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so Surah number 2, so you have what's called the index. The index is the order of the numbers. So the Surah number 2, the index is 2. Surah number 3, the index would be 3. We're just numbering the surahs. So if you take Surah number 2, which has 286 ayats, and if you add the 2 to 286, you're going to get 288, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, now, that's called the index plus the ayats. Now, here's where the magic is. If you add the index to the number of ayats in each surah, it's going to produce another number. Just like surah number 2 has 286 verses, you add the number 2, which is the second surah, you get 288. Now, if you take all of those numbers, and if you go by the even, and you go by what Allah says in Holy Quran, by the even and the odd, if you take all of the numbers that are even numbers, and we'll go more into this on Wednesday, but if you take all those numbers that are even, you're going to come up with the number 6,236. If you take all the numbers that are odd, you're going to come up with the number 6,555, which shows if you were to change as little as one thing in the Holy Quran, you would disrupt the mathematics of the Holy Quran. Right? For those that don't quite grasp it, just come back on Wednesday. We're gonna go a little deeper into it. I'll pull it up so you can kind of see it on the screen. But this scientist has a whole book that goes into the whole Holy Quran, how it's based on some of the highest levels of mathematics that was not known at that time to the people of the Middle East. And it's also connected to the work that was done by Dr. Rashad Khalifa, who was the one that discovered the number 19. And we're going to be also incorporating information by Mother Tynetta. Now, I'm going to read one paragraph. I'm going to read one part. And this is just to kind of let us know what's in store for us on Wednesday. But in chapter 4, he says this. Now listen to this. He says, chapter 4, chapter or surah 74, verse 30 of the Quran is the foundation upon which a humanly impossible, mathematically coded literary work is built. This surah, entitled The Hidden Secret, informs us that those who claim the Quran is man-made will be proven wrong by the number 19. Okay, I'm just going to read that one paragraph. Surah 74, verse 30 is the foundation for this whole book that we're going to try to go over the course of the next couple of weeks. Now, why is 74, verse 30 so relevant? Surah 74, verse 30 is the only ayah in the Holy Quran that says over it are 19. It's the only place in the Holy Quran where the number 19 is mentioned. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Now, what is the
Yes,
significance of Surah 74, verse 30?
Yeah, it took me a minute.
Okay. If you take 7, 4, and 30, Mother Tanetta Muhammad has said that 7, 4, and 30, if you look at it as a date, is July 4th, 1930.
104 books.
Awesome.
Okay.
Awesome, Brother Lukeman.
Well, that's awesome, Mother Tanetta.
The fact that you stayed on it.
Oh, brother, I'm staying on it. I've been on the study of number 19 since college, brother. Definitely.
All praise be to Allah.
If we go back and look at the old article by Mother Tanetta Muhammad, you will see I believe she was preparing us for this.
That's right.
If you look at if you can go back and find the old tapes by Sister Ava, Sister Dr. Ava, I remember back when I was in college, the big thing was mind wars.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, sir.
And by Allah's grace, go ahead, brother.
And deportation of moon?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
By Allah's grace, I was blessed to be on her security detail. One part of Mind Wars she delivered at Cornell, I believe it was Cornell University in it was either 1991 or 1992, and I was blessed to meet her and her husband. And we did, the believers at Syracuse University, we did security for her when she went down to speak. And then interesting thing is, you have what's called prime numbers, and then you have a composite number. And again, we'll go into this on Wednesday. So if for example, the number 2 is the first prime number. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Okay. The number 3 is the second prime number. The number 13 is the 6th prime number. Well, why is that relevant? Because in our Supreme Wisdom, the first mention of problem number 13 is on page number 6.
Very interesting.
Guess what the index for is? So now we do a composite number. The number 4 is the first composite number. Meaning, well, I won't go into the meaning, but we'll do this on Wednesday. But the number 30 is the 19th composite number. Now we have the number 19 and 30. 30. It's interesting, isn't it?
Awesome stuff, brother.
Okay. So God willing, starting Wednesday, we're going to start dealing with the mathematics of the Holy Quran. And then there's going to be some correlations to some of the mathematics that's in our Supreme Wisdom in our problem book. If you are interested, if you haven't already sent me your email, put your email in the chat. I did put the link in the chat. Hit the link. It'll bring you to this book. It's a free download. It doesn't cost anything. This is all the scientist has reached. He's an astrophysicist. All this is free information. All you gotta do is download it, print it out, and make a note. I went and had it bound myself at Office Depot. It don't cost anything. The wisdom is there, and we're going to start piecing through this book to start increasing our understanding of mathematics, the Holy Quran, and our Supreme Wisdom.
A quick question. I don't see the link in the chat.
Okay. That's right, because you came on late. Let me see if I can let me pull it back up again. That way everyone will have it. What did I do with it? Is this
it's
it?
at the beginning, Brother Lupon.
Well, he came out, he didn't come out at the beginning, so it won't show in his chat. But what I will do is I got it right here. This is.
And Brother Luke, man, you want to explain to them the significance of what a prime number is?
I can do that really quickly.
Yes, sir, because I have a background in electrical engineering, so all the stuff you mentioning, I'm like, go ahead, Brother Luke, man.
See, and you'll be able to appreciate complex numbers, which I won't go into right now, because that will make people go crazy. Do you see it in the chat, Brother Enrique?
Yeah, yes, I do. I'm about to click on it.
Okay. So a prime number, understand the basic concept of prime and composite numbers. We can use these as demo kits to understand Dianetics. Well, how would you do that? There's 3 types of numbers on the basic level. We know the number 1 represents who?
God.
1 represents, say, Kul hu Allahu ahad. Say he, Allah is 1. So Allah stands alone, correct?
Right.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Then you have what's called prime numbers. And what a prime number is, it's a number that is only divisible by 1 and itself. So if I say the number 3, if I say factor the number 3, you can only come up with 1 times 3. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Okay. So if a prime number is only divisible by 1 and 3, and the word divisible means to break down or to reduce, then a prime number represents one who can only be broken down by God and self. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. A prime number in the language of Dianetics would represent a clear. A composite number is a number that can be broken down. So if I take the number 6, if I factor out 6, I got 1 times 6 and I got 2 times 3. So the number 2 and the number 3 are like 2 valences. So contained in the 6, you have God, but now you have these 2 valences, and that's what makes it a composite. So a composite number is like a person that has a little slight aberration. Does that make sense? Y'all with me? Okay. It'll make more sense as we go through it. You'll remember, all of us are scientists that are coming awake.
Right.
So all this wisdom is in our DNA. We all have it. It's just that we got to get the rust off our locks. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So inshallah, let me know by Tuesday if you're able to download the documents. If not, I will try to see if I can just scan in whatever the reading material is as we go along. And then what I'm hoping to do is I've written 4 study guides to go along with our study. So you have something to do at home, do the study guide, do the questions, and then whatever you don't understand, that's what you bring back to the class, and that's what we're going to go over. I'm going to try my best to do study guides to go along with this book as well, to give us some work to do at home.
Quick question.
Go ahead, brother.
I was logging in. It says like $11.99 a month. Is that where it take you?
No, download with free trial, I believe.
Yeah, I think it says download with free trial. So when I originally downloaded this, and I'm gonna look for it again, I didn't have to do anything. I clicked on it, downloaded it, and it was done. Here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna see if I still have it in my memory somewhere on my computer. Don't pay anything to get it if you don't have to. There's like I said, this didn't cost me anything. If you can if you can download it with the free trial, do that. Okay. If not, we'll figure out a plan B.
This is what it's saying is activate your free trial, 0 due until January 2nd, 2024, then $11.99 per month. Then it says by starting a free trial, you're enrolling in automatic payments of $11.99 per month plus tax to scrib Inc. USA, beginning at the end of your free trial. You can cancel anytime from your account setting.
Yeah, see, I believe if you know how we all do, like we want to download something,
Yes,
And
sir.
then you cancel it.
uh, cancel anytime. You know what I mean?
Okay, you got it.
Yeah, but the thing is, when I originally got this, I didn't have to do any of that. It was just I could download it, and I went to Office Depot. I put in my zip drive. I printed it out. I had them put the spiral binding on it. It didn't cost anything. I'll try to find the old website that has
Brother Luke, you know why that happened, right?
why.
See, they plugged in. They know that you're in a nation that you're gonna get us this vital information, right? So, but you start sharing it, and I'm saying that, okay,
Yeah, now they change everything.
yeah,
Exactly.
you know how us believe.
We'll get around it. We'll find out. And I've also sent an email to this astrophysicist because I want to talk with him. Because I want to let him know my intention. I plan on giving him. I'm not taking credit for none of this. That's not even my intention. But I also want to find out if there's a way I can make contact with him to kind of get his blessing for this. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
You know.
Well, I downloaded the book so far, so I'm good. I can work it out from there,
Okay.
brother. But
I
appreciate
don't
what
know.
you're doing.
I don't know if he's still living or dead. I really don't. But we're gonna start going through this and getting I'm sure this will be some things that crack open in our supreme wisdom and our problem book by doing this.
Absolutely. Go ahead, God.
Okay.
Brother Lukman, once once you make contact with him and we get into this, is there any way he can come on?
Oh, I would. Oh, are you kidding me? I would love for him to come on.
Okay.
Now, in the meantime, there's a 9-part series on YouTube. Each part is 10 minutes long. He goes into some of the information in this book on YouTube. Okay. Now, if you can write this down real quick.
Give me a second to grab a pen, brother.
Okay. And Brother Troy,
I'm ready.
Brother Troy, you still on? Brother Troy leave? Oh, he had to leave. Okay. And Brother Enrique, you know about the YouTube channel, correct?
I know about yours.
Okay. Okay, so here is the ultimate, let's see, ultimate, oh, there it is right there. Okay, I already have it. Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yes, sir. I can see your screen.
Okay, you see where it says Ultimate Mathematics Generated the Quran, Part 1 of 10?
Yes, sir.
That is Dr. Ali Fazili. So we're going to be watching clips. He's dealing with some of the mathematics in these clips, but he doesn't cover everything it would take hours and hours for him to cover what's in this book right here. He just touches the surface in those videos. But over the course of the next whatever amount of weeks Allah blesses us to go over it, that's what we're gonna do. But the only difference is we're gonna find a way to tie this into our supreme wisdom and our problem book to see. I believe that one of the ways, if Allah formulated the Holy Quran with a mathematical code, and this proves that Allah is God, correct?
That's a fact.
Okay. My thought process is that the Savior, Master Father Muhammad, did the same thing with our supreme wisdom and our problem book.
Oh, without a doubt.
So right now I'm trying to find patterns, and the only pattern I have found, well, I found a couple, is the fact that problem number 13 is on page 6, and 13 is the 6th prime number, and the sum of 13 and 6 is 19. That's the only one I found so far in our supreme wisdom, but I believe there's more. If you calculate the speed of thought going to the far planet Pluto, guess how fast thought travels to Pluto when you make just one trip? If you do the math, it comes out to the 19th of a second, 0.19 of a second. Okay. So as we crack open the supreme wisdom, the number 19 starts to pop up.
Yes, sir.
If you calculate the speed of the Earth as it's traveling around the sun, now remember, it travels 1,000. It's different than 1,037 to 30 miles per hour.
That's correct. Go ahead.
That's axial velocity, but we want orbital velocity. And when you do the math, it comes out to 18.5 miles per second. And if you round up, the Earth is traveling 19 miles per second. So this is just some of the math we're going to start getting into, and then we're going to get into some other concepts down the road. We see what happens. Okay.
Yes, sir. It's my cup of tea right here, brother.
Right. Now, one of the reasons why I'm doing this as well is myself, Brother Robin, and there was another brother by the name of Brother Marcus. We were talking about doing this about a year ago. We were going to put together a Zoom meeting and start dealing with this math. And Brother Robin and I were talking about it again. And unfortunately, our beloved brother passed not too long ago. So I want to keep this going because when the three of us got together, it was just bean soup for everybody. We were just like children in a candy store. Okay. So inshallah, Wednesday, bring your notebook, bring an open mind. Do not be fearful of the math. Do not be fearful of the math. I guarantee you, you will begin to understand it. Just get over your fear of the numbers. Sister Peggy is smiling, but yes, everyone in this room is a scientist waking up. Do not be fearful. We will get through this.
That's a Sarah laugh, okay?
Huh?
That's a Sarah laugh, Sarah and Abraham. I was just thinking that's the kind of, okay, all right.
Oh.
I like her background, her screen.
Oh yeah, Starship Enterprise. Well, don't let it fool you. Sister is heavy into the medical field. So she was a cardiac a cardiac nurse.
I'm still a nurse, but I retired from clinical. But I was I've done all different types of nursing. But the one I loved the most and the one I worked in the most was cardiology.
Yeah, so she's got a heavy science background. And there's those in the room that aren't even aware that they're scientists because we haven't gotten that lion out of the cage yet.
Yes, sir. I want to just share this with you just to let you know that I'm having fun.
Go ahead, brother.
I have 3 years of electrical engineering in from Penn State University. I never finished. I went back to school to pick up where I left off. I did another 2 years of nuclear engineering technology.
Oh, brother.
Finished that, right? My wife got pregnant. We started on a whole nother thing. So I've been gradually taking courses back to take quantum computing. So all this stuff that you're doing now with discrete mathematics, you know all of that stuff that you break it into. This is where I have a field day.
I just finished discrete mathematics spring of I'm 2 classes from finishing my bachelor's in math. I did discrete mathematics last spring, and I just bought a book on quantum computing and quantum entanglement. And you and I, brother, you and I have to talk. There's something I wanna pick your brain and share some information with you dealing with the quantum computing and quantum entanglement.
Oh, no doubt. We're going to have a field day, bro.
All right, dear family. Inshallah, we will see everyone on Wednesday. I'm looking forward to it. Sister Anya, I didn't hear anything from you. Are you with us?
Brother Lukman.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, sir. It's ironic how you brought up Dress 19. I just started reading. It's really a small book of Mother Tanetta, My Life Journey Traveling with the Wise Man.
Yes, ma'am. Excellent book.
And that was in there, Brother Dr. Rashad, I believe, was in there when you said. I was like, wow, that is ironic how he spoke of that, and I just almost finished reading it.
And that's a book you can read in probably about an hour.
Yeah, it's I think got 34 pages, but
Yeah.
I've been stopping, but it's really, it's small, but it got a lot of information.
Mm-hmm. And the great brother Wahid, I think he's with us. I don't know if he can come off, but I definitely want to send you the greeting, brother Wahid. Sister Ania. Who else we got here? I think that would be it. All right, family. As the minister would say, bring your thinking caps on Wednesday, and let's start this journey. If that is it, let us go ahead and close out in prayer. Extension prayer. I seek refuge in Allah from the accursed Satan. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful. All praise is due to Allah, Lord of the worlds, the Beneficent, the Most Merciful. After the day of judgment in which we now live, the alone do we serve, thine aid do we seek. Please, Allah, guide us on the straight path, the path upon whom thou hast bestowed favors, not the path upon whom thy wrath is brought down, nor of those who go astray after hearing thy teachings. Ameen. Brother Enrique, you got a quick minute?
Oh, absolutely.
Let me just drop this in your ear. Let me put a little flavor in your ear for a minute.
We got
the flavor in your ear. Brother Wahid, I see you, Brother Wahid. Assalamu alaikum, sir.
Is that the pioneer, Brother Wahid?
Pioneer, Brother Wahid. Yes, sir.
Oh,
yes,
praise
sir.
be to Allah. I want to say this, Brother Wahid. You probably don't remember me, but this was in Atlanta. We did a Dhikr circle with you. You was there at this doctor's house. So if he's hearing me right now, he probably should be able to recollect that something vaguely, maybe because he's always on the road and doing things for the nation.
So, brother, how much? It's funny because I just bought a book on quantum computing because I have this concept. It's here somewhere, but the concept is this: because when you deal with quantum computing, they're dealing with recording data on atomic particles. Correct?
Correct.
Okay. And the thought came to my mind one day, and sometimes these thoughts hit my mind as I'm waking up, and I look at these thoughts as Allah dropping a little assignment on me to give me something to focus on in the day to study on.
Yes, sir.
And then my thought was this: if you can record information on atomic particles, wouldn't the black body of the first God, could we consider that the first quantum computer? That's the first thought. Because the theta, the spiritual aspect of who we are, is just existing in this organic computer. Could we say that?
I'm gonna say this. You definitely on point, but I'm gonna tell you where you can go to confirm that. There's a book called Programming the Universe by a guy named Seth Lloyd. It's not that long of a book, but it's going to give you what they found because the universe computates. You know what I'm saying? So when we see, let's say, the process of, recycling, a tree drops a leaf, the leaf turns into fertilizer. We look at that as nature's process. But what that is actually computation. So instead of the leaf being useless, it turns into something else. It's like programs that generate from one another. So everything that happens from, let's say, a leopard eating its prey, and then that becoming part of the cycle of, the cycle of life, the ecosystem. Instead of looking at it like nature, look at it as a process where there's a computational cycle that keeps the universe evolving. So yeah, that book, and then the biggest idea that people going into quantum computing is what is called a qubit. Right? And the qubit means that it's not just zeros and ones. There's actually a state that's in between. There's a third state that depends on what the thought or whatever that particular function is leaning towards. That's the probability.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, sir.
Okay. With that thought, are you familiar with the scientists that found the programming, what appeared to be programming code behind the mathematics of the universe?
Yes, sir. I'm familiar with him, and I'm his work with the Andrinka codes.
Yes.
Yes,
That's what I'm
sir.
talking about.
Absolutely.
Okay.
No doubt.
Okay. So quick thought, and then we got a sister from the wheel that wants to speak, but let me stop. How familiar are you with quantum entanglement?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Brother Enrique.
Very familiar with it.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Here's a thought, brother. Again, this is just a thought. This is like research I'm doing right now. In quantum entanglement, what they're finding out is they have two particles, and there's a method they use to connect these particles. And what they're saying is they could take these two particles and put a vast distance between those two, and they can see how these two particles can instantaneously communicate with one another, right?
Facts.
Okay, now watch this. If we are theta, if we are the spiritual, we are the spirit, that means we are the consciousness that's being written onto the particles. Could we say that?
Without a question.
Okay, now watch this. There was a doctor, I watched the clip, and there's a certain part of the brain where past memories are recorded called the amygdala. And the amygdala is something that the minister speaks about in study guide number 18.
Yes, sir.
Now, if two particles are separated in space and time, but they can communicate, and if part of our theta is stuck in a part of our body that's stuck in a past memory, then could the aberration actually be theta particles where the particle from the past is communicating to the particle or the thetan that's in the present, and our aberration is based on we don't know where the hell we are, past or present? Could that be quantum entanglement? That's number one.
That could definitely be quantum entanglement. And let me tell you, there's a book where he goes into group Dianetics, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then he shows how people who tend to congeal together, they congeal together by their reactive bank. So when you see people who, as a group, can't process the present day events, let's say seeing the minister for who he is usually because of a group engram. And they identify with that reactive bank as a collective. You see where I'm going with it, bro?
Oh, no, I see it. I see it.
Same kind of situation. And there's a book you want to read, you want to add to your library. It's called the Experiments in Consciousness with a guy named Bill Tiller. He's a Stanford University professor who demonstrates how you can do two things. One, you can impress your consciousness on inanimate matter. And the other thing is consciousness can be used to, like they do this experiment with fruit flies where they have an intention they put for the fruit flies to actually produce more and grow at a rapid rate, and it actually does that. And he shows how that principle of quantum entanglement is absolutely involved with that.
You said his last name is Tiller?
Yeah, his name is William Tiller.
So Experiencing in Consciousness, and then the one by Seth Lloyd, Programming Universe?
Yes, sir.
Well, I'm on it. Uh-huh.
There's another one that he has that's really, really good. It's called Experiments in Magic, right, by William Tiller. This is all done in laboratories, too.
Experiment in what?
Experiments in Magic.
Magic.
Yes, sir. So that principle of quantum entanglement, where one thing affects something at a different distance, another guy does something on that. It's called the Conscious Universe by this guy named Dean Radin. These are all places where you're going to find scientifically experimented. You already got that book, huh?
Right. That sounds familiar. That sounds familiar.
Well, he got quite a few books, but that was his joint that put him on the map. But this is the thing. He actually goes through the experiments and the meta-analysis to show that thought and that quantum entanglement principle not only is real, but it's been used and experimented on to prove that how it exists.
And who's the author of that one, brother?
That's Dean Radin.
The Conscious Universe, Dean Radin. I think I might actually have that. Okay. Got to write it down. Go ahead, Sister Angela.
Yes, I was trying to get some order in the hallway. Okay, let's start. I had to get over saw some things, but as I got back on, two things I wanted to mention, maybe three. First, in the comment, what I heard getting back on, I went right back to our robot with Will Smith when the scientists knew that the robots, well, the computer in the robot had what he called ghosts. It was an unexplainable reality or reaction that he noticed that artificial intelligence should not have. So he noted that when the robots were put in containment, little containers, units, that they would, instead of stand apart, they would group together. Something like you were talking about, these two things that can communicate with each other, even if they're in different time frames. It took me right back to the plenary session in 2011, where with the so-called UFO phenomenon and this intelligence that these orbs and this metal seem to have, but don't appear to be connected to anything to be able to move, strategize, record, and communicate, no matter how small the item was. So it was very eye-open to see that, or to even consider that these things had intelligence, consciousness, thought. So then I went to that one atom dropping down and rotating. I am intelligence, thought, and consciousness. And listening to all the reference material left me in a lecture that the minister is giving about the enemy knowing that the universe is, quote unquote, a big breast to nurse on. And that depending on the word, you can pull on it and manifest. Because listening to you and the brother is really bringing me back to the power of intention and the fact, the actual fact that words matter. And the average person knowing 400 words considered well gives that person a very limited mobility. So the higher the vibratory rate, the more words we obtain, the more we read and we study, our manifestation goes on another level. So it seems to me, and I wanted to say this earlier, so Allah got me saying it now. It seems that this dross that you were talking about, that's on the goal, that of course can be taken off with the study guides by Allah's grace and mercy. Sometimes, though, it's possible that because of the limited ability to think unemotionally like a computer, meaning that we have not wrapped our mind around how to rise above emotions into the thinking of God, doesn't allow us to remove all of the dross that we come with. Because do we think it's a coincidence that this Shabazz decided that since everybody couldn't speak the same dialect, all dealing with words, right? Words matter and words are possible. That he decided to kill himself and everybody else. So could that be the first manifestation of severe aberration?
There you go.
Oh my goodness. That's awesome.
Praise be to Allah.
Mm.
Is there something for us to chew on?
Yeah. Like the Oracle said, let this, you think that's something, this will really cook your noodle.
Cook your noodle.
Off that baby plane, brother Luke.
Yeah, well, family, I thoroughly enjoyed this. I love this. I live for this. So
come on now.
Yeah, brother Enrique, whenever you got some free time, brother, just hit the digits, brother. Give me a call.
You know what? You gave me your math, right? But I have to go through my because I'm I'll tell you about it when I talk to you. But if you wouldn't mind slide me your math, again, I would really appreciate that.
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir. And you and
know
I actually met. We actually met at Savior's Day some years ago.
I remember you. I never forgot you from that, brother. The stuff breaking down, with the tears and how it's necessary to release that in order for certain things to go on in the body. And bro, when I saw that, man, I knew you was something special.
Brother, I'm just trying to be a good student.
Yeah, but ain't nobody average in the Nation of Islam that's in the Lamb's Book of Life, brother.
Praise be to Allah.
Allah's grace. Allah's grace. All right, family. I don't know. I know I'm on tone 40 right now. I'm up there. So inshallah, we will see each other on Wednesday. I will do my best to get this these next couple of weeks a little organized because I want this to be a structured endeavor where the sky is the limit, and I pray that you and I will never be the same again.
Praise be to Allah.
Yes, sir, brother. Yeah. Okay, so brother Enrique, I'll text you my information as well.
Yes, sir.
All right, family. Love you. Stay strong.
Likewise.
Yes, sir.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
Assalamu alaikum.
Salam.
Alaikum salam.